The desperate call, the emergency lights cast red shadows across the command center of mining station. Kepler 4, for to be as Commander Zara Kelleth, pressed her scaled palm against the cracked viewing port. Beyond the reinforced crystal, the darkness of space flickered with weapons fire. The Void Hunters had been attacking for 6 days straight, their black ships moving like deadly insects around a massive mining platform. Commander, the outer defense grid is down to 30%, reported Chief Engineer Brix Moldovan, his forearms working frantically at multiple control panels. The Krillian's usually steady voice carried a tremor of exhaustion. The quantum crystal refineries are overloading. If they breach the containment fields, ... Double quotes. Zara didn't need him to finish. 50,000 beings called this station home. Like herself, Krillians, Aquari, Veshans, and dozens of other species who had come here to work the richest quantum crystal mines in known space. Now they were all trapped, waiting to die in the cold vacuum. "How long do we have?" she asked, though she dreaded the answer. Brix's secondary arms twitched nervously as he calculated 48 hours, maybe less. The life support systems are running on backup power, and the hunters keep targeting our repair teams. Through the station's comm system, Zara could hear the sounds of panic echoing through the corridors. Children crying in the civilian sectors. Parents trying to explain why the lights kept flickering. Medical teams struggling with the wounded from the latest attack. She had led these people for 5 years through solar storms and equipment failures and labor disputes. But she had never faced anything like this. "The Galactic Defense Force?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Communications officer." Yin Tassara looked up from her station, her aquatic features glistening with moisture from the failing environmental systems. "Still 3 days out, assuming they received our distress call. The hunters chose their timing well. The nearest patrol fleet is dealing with the Rigel sector crisis." Zara closed her large eyes. The Void Hunters were nomads who lived in the empty spaces between systems, raiding and pillaging wherever they found weakness. They had been watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The quantum crystals that powered faster than light. Travel were worth more than entire planets, and this station processed more crystals than anywhere else in the galaxy. Commander Yin continued hesitantly, "There might be another option." "What do you mean?" The Aquari officers' gill slits fluttered with nervousness. "The long-range sensors are picking up something from the Sol system. It's been quarantined for over 2 centuries, but the readings suggest there might be someone listening." A chill ran through the command center. Everyone knew about Sol, the system where the violent species called humans had been contained after their brief and catastrophic introduction to galactic civilization. The Galactic Council had deemed them too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed free access to the stars. Official records claimed the quarantine had been successful, that humanity had been peacefully contained on their homeworld. "Commander, we cannot contact them," Brix said firmly. "The quarantine protocols are absolute. Any species that attempts communication with the Sol system faces immediate sanctions." "Sanctions won't matter if we're all dead," Zara replied grimly. She had studied the old files during her academy days. Humans had fought a dozen smaller species to a standstill before the Galactic Council intervened. They used tactics that civilized species considered barbaric, weapons that violated several interstellar treaties, and worst of all, they seemed to enjoy fighting. But they had also shown moments of surprising compassion, rescuing enemy survivors, and protecting non-combatants even in the heat of battle. Another explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered, and several control panels sparked. Outside the viewport, Zara could see one of the defense platforms break apart, its debris field spreading like deadly snow. "How many people are on that platform?" she whispered. 300, Yin reported, her voice barely audible. No survivors detected. Zara made her decision. Send a general distress signal on all frequencies. Include our location, the nature of the threat, and our civilian population count. All frequencies, Commander, Yin asked. That would include all frequencies, Zara confirmed. If there's anyone out there willing to help, I don't care what species they are. Yin worked at her station, her webbed fingers dancing over controls designed for her species' unique physiology. Signal prepared and ready to transmit, Commander. Wait, Brix interrupted. Commander, think about what you're doing. If the humans respond, if they actually exist and respond, what then? The stories say they're monsters. Creatures that evolved on a world so deadly that everything there tries to kill everything else. They might be worse than the Void Hunters. Zara looked around the command center. Emergency power was failing in sections of the station. The artificial gravity flickered occasionally. Through the comm system, she could hear Dr. Melix in the medical bay calling for more plasma units for the wounded. Time was running out. Send the signal, she ordered. The message burst out from the station's communication array at the speed of light, spreading in all directions across known space. It was a simple plea: coordinates, population count, time remaining, and a desperate request for immediate assistance from anyone capable of providing it. Signal sent, Commander, Yin reported. Now we wait. But they didn't have to wait long. Within an hour, Yin's station began picking up something impossible. Commander, I'm detecting hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts, moving at incredible speed. The defense force? Zara asked hopefully. No, ma'am. These signatures are coming from the direction of the Sol system. And Commander Yin's voice trailed off as she stared at her readings. These ships are moving faster than anything in our databases. The hyperspace distortion suggests a level of technology we've never encountered. Brix's 4 arms froze over his controls. That's impossible. The quarantine reports said the humans barely had interplanetary capability. How old are those reports? Zara asked quietly. 200 years, Brix admitted. Outside, the Void Hunter ships continued their methodical destruction of the station's defenses. Their leader, Commander Vex Korath, had been broadcasting threats. For days, the Void Hunters would take what they wanted from the ruins. Anyone who surrendered immediately would be sold into slavery rather than killed outright. It was the closest thing to mercy the nomads offered. Incoming transmission, Yin announced suddenly. It's from the unknown contacts. Put it through. The speakers crackled with static, then a voice emerged. It was speaking in accented galactic standard, but there was something different about it, something that made the hair on Zara's arms stand up. Kepler 4 for to be mining station. This is Captain Sarah Morrison of the Terra defense ship Prometheus. We received your distress call. Hold your position. Help is on the way. The command center fell silent. Terra was the ancient name for the human homeworld. How many ships are they bringing? Zara asked Yin. The Aquari officer's gill slits were fluttering rapidly with shock. Commander, I count 47 hyperspace signatures. They're traveling in perfect formation at speeds that should tear their ships apart. 47 ships to fight 200 Void Hunter vessels. Brix's voice cracked. They're going to get themselves killed trying to help us. Zara stared. Out at the battle raging round her station, the Void Hunters had been toying with them, taking their time to strip away defenses before moving in for the final assault. They had overwhelming numerical superiority and had never faced serious resistance. But something about that human voice, about the calm confidence in those words, made her think the Void Hunters might be in for a surprise. "All stations, prepare to receive Allied vessels," she announced over the station's comm system. And, "Someone get me everything we have in the archives about human combat capabilities." 20 minutes later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace. They appeared like thunder in the darkness. 47 ships of angular design that looked nothing like the graceful curves of galactic civilization. These vessels were built for war, their hulls bristling with weapons that seemed to grow from the metal like thorns. The largest ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of a standard Defense Force cruiser. "By the deep waters," Yin whispered, "look at those weapon signatures." The human ships moved through space with predatory grace, spreading out in a formation that utilized 3-dimensional tactics most species never mastered. They weren't approaching in the traditional battle line that galactic naval doctrine required. Instead, they were surrounding the Void Hunter fleet like pack hunters closing on prey. Commander Vex Korath's voice crackled over the emergency frequencies, speaking in the harsh tongue of the Void Hunters before switching to broken galactic standard. "Unknown ships, you trespass in claimed salvage zone. Withdraw or be destroyed." Captain Morrison's response was immediate and calm. "Void Hunter vessels, you are attacking civilian populations. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Korath's laughter was like grinding metal. 47 ships against 200. You are either brave or foolish, aliens. "We're human," Morrison replied simply. "And we don't abandon people who call for help." The battle began without further warning. The Void Hunters, confident in their numerical advantage, charged forward in their traditional swarm tactics. They had used these same strategies to overwhelm dozens of defense fleets across the galaxy. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for generations to come. The human ships didn't meet the charge head-on. Instead, they moved like liquid mercury through space, their formation shifting and flowing in ways that seemed to violate the basic principles of fleet combat. They used the asteroid field around the mining station not as an obstacle but as cover and concealment, appearing from behind floating rocks to strike with devastating precision before vanishing again. "Impossible," Brix breathed, watching the tactical display. "They're treating space combat like planetary warfare." The first Void Hunter ship died in a flash of brilliant light. The humans had targeted its engine core with surgical precision, causing a cascade failure that tore the vessel apart from within. Then another ship died, and another. Each shot was perfectly placed, each maneuver calculated to maximum effect. But it was what happened next that truly shocked everyone watching. Instead of pressing their advantage, several human ships broke off from the battle to approach the damaged mining station. "Kepler-4 for 2B, this is Captain Morrison. We're sending medical and engineering teams to assist with your wounded and damaged systems. Maintain your position and prepare to receive our personnel." Zara looked at her officers in amazement. The humans were fighting a battle against overwhelming odds, and their first priority was helping the people they had come to save. As the first human transport approached the station's docking bay, Zara realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity was about to change. The question was whether they were ready for the truth about the species they had tried so hard to contain when Deathworlders answered the first human to board. Kepler 4-4-B was not what Commander Zara Kellith had expected. Dr. James Rodriguez was a compact man with graying hair and gentle brown eyes, carrying a medical kit that seemed too advanced for any field equipment she had ever seen. Behind him came a team of humans in environmental suits, moving with quiet efficiency through the damaged corridors. "Commander Kellith, I presume?" Dr. Rodriguez asked, his voice warm despite the translation unit. "I'm Dr. Rodriguez, but everyone calls me Patch. We're here to help." Zara found herself staring. The humans looked so ... ordinary. After 2 centuries of stories about violent Deathworlders, she had expected something monstrous. Instead, she saw beings that looked remarkably similar to several galactic species, if a bit more compact and muscular. "Doctor, your ships are fighting a battle against overwhelming odds. Why are you here instead of commanding your forces?" Patch smiled, and the expression transformed his face completely. "Because people are hurt, Commander. In human culture, you take care of the wounded first, fight the battle second." He gestured to his team. "My colleagues are already setting up triage stations in your medical bay. We received your casualty reports during our approach." As they moved through the station, Zara watched in fascination. The human medical team worked with a combination of advanced technology and what could only be called intuition. They seemed to understand alien biology better than some specialists she had worked with. When they reached the medical bay, she saw human medics already working alongside Dr. Melix and the station's medical staff. "How do you know so much about our physiology?" she asked Patch as he knelt beside a wounded Krillian child. "We've been studying," he replied, his hands steady as he applied a healing gel that immediately began repairing damaged tissue. "For 200 years, we've been learning everything we could about our galactic neighbors. We knew that someday we'd need to help." Outside the medical bay, the sounds of battle continued. Through the station's viewports, Zara could see the human ships moving through the Void Hunter fleet like wolves among sheep. But it wasn't the overwhelming technological superiority she had expected. The humans were winning through tactics, coordination, and what appeared to be an intimate understanding of three-dimensional combat. "Commander Kellith, to the bridge, Priority 1. Came Yin's voice over the CUM system. Zara hurried back to the command center, leaving the human medical team to their work. When she arrived, she found Yin and Brix staring at the tactical display in amazement. "What's happening out there?" Zara asked. "The humans," Brix said slowly, "are using our own mining equipment as weapons." On the display, Zara could see human ships maneuvering around the massive asteroid processing platforms that surrounded the station. Somehow, they had taken control of the industrial plasma cutters and ore refinement systems, turning them into improvised weapons against the Void. "Hunter fleet, how did they access our systems?" she demanded. "They didn't," Yin replied. "They're using focused electromagnetic pulses to trigger the equipment remotely. They're turning our mining station into a fortress." As if to emphasize the point, one of the processing platforms suddenly erupted with brilliant light. A stream of superheated plasma, normally used to break down asteroid ore, lanced out to strike a Void Hunter cruiser. The enemy ship's shields collapsed instantly, and the vessel went tumbling away, trailing atmosphere and debris. "By the depths," Yin whispered. "They're using industrial equipment to fight a space battle." Captain Morrison's voice came through. "The CUM system. Kepler 4-4-B, this is Prometheus. We're about to implement Phase 2 of our engagement plan. Please secure all personnel and maintain position." "Phase 2?" Zara asked. What was Phase 1? Her question was answered as the human fleets suddenly changed tactics. Instead of the fluid, unpredictable movements they had been using, the ships formed up into tight formations and began advancing directly toward the largest concentration of Void Hunter vessels. It looked like a frontal assault, the kind of straightforward attack that military doctrine said should never work against superior numbers. Commander Vex Korath apparently thought the same thing. His voice boomed across the emergency frequencies, speaking in accented galactic standard. Foolish humans, you think to match us in direct combat. We are the Void Hunters. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. The human response came not from Captain Morrison, but from another voice, deeper, older, carrying the weight of absolute authority. This is Admiral Chen Wu of the Terra Defense Force. You have attacked civilian populations under our protection. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and we will show you why Earth produces warriors. Korath's laughter was harsh. Earth, the quarantine world. You are prisoners on your own planet. Were. Admiral Chen corrected calmly. We were prisoners. We got better. What happened next redefined everything the galaxy thought it knew about space combat. The human ships accelerated directly toward the Void Hunter fleet, but as they approached, they began to spin. Not the gentle rotation used by some species for artificial gravity, but a rapid, controlled spin that turned each ship into a gyroscopic weapon platform. As they spun, their weapons fired continuously, creating cones of destruction that swept through the enemy formation like scythes through grain. Impossible, Brix breathed. The G-forces would crush any crew. Unless they're from a high-gravity world, Zara realized. A world where everything is heavier, where beings evolve to be stronger, more resilient. The Void Hunter formation began to collapse. Ships that had seemed so threatening moments before were now breaking apart under the sustained assault. But it wasn't just the firepower that was destroying them. It was the humans' complete willingness to press their attack regardless of personal risk. Zara watched a human destroyer ram directly into a Void Hunter battlecruiser, both ships disappearing in a ball of fire. But before the destroyer died, it had launched all of its escape pods toward the mining station, and she could see other human ships moving to recover survivors. They're willing to die for people they've never met, she whispered. The battle was over in less than an hour. Of the 200 Void Hunter ships that had threatened the station, fewer than 20 escaped into hyperspace. The rest were either destroyed or crippled, their crews taken prisoner by human boarding parties. In the aftermath, as human engineering teams worked alongside station personnel to repair critical systems, Zara found herself in a meeting with Admiral Chen Wu. The human commander had beamed over to the station personally, and she was surprised to find him to be a man in his 60s with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Admiral, she began carefully, I must ask, how did you respond so quickly to our distress call? How did you have so many ships ready to deploy? Chen smiled, and there was sadness in his expression. Commander, did you really think we would just sit quietly in our solar system for 2 centuries? We've been watching, listening, learning. We have ships stationed at the edge of every inhabited system in this sector. But the quarantine was meant to keep us in. It was never designed to stop us from leaving. Chun's voice carried a weight of old pain. We've been protecting trade routes, stopping pirate raids, rescuing ships in distress, always from the shadows, never taking credit, never revealing ourselves. Because we knew that if the galaxy discovered we were free, there would be panic. Zara felt a chill. How long have you been free? 50 years, Chen replied. We developed faster than light travel on our own, different from yours, but just as effective. We built our ships, trained our crews, and quietly took up the job of protecting people who would never know we existed. Why? Brix asked, speaking for the first time since the Admiral had arrived. Why protect people who feared you, who locked you away? Chen was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the space where the battle had been fought. Because that's what humans do, he said finally. We protect people who can't protect themselves. It's who we are. Dr. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway of the conference room, still wearing his blood-stained medical coat. Admiral, final casualty report. We lost the destroyer Yorktown and her crew of 43. Station casualties were minimal thanks to early intervention. All critical patients are stable. Chen nodded gravely. Thank you, Patch. Make sure the families know their people died, saving 50,000 civilians. As the doctor left, Zara realized something that shook her to her core. You've been doing this for 50 years, fighting and dying to protect people who don't even know you exist. Someone has to, Chen said simply. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are threats out there that make the Void Hunters look like children with toys. The Scorched Hive in the Andromeda approach, the Shadow Fleet in the void between galaxies. Things that would give your worst nightmares pause. And you face these threats alone. We did. Chen looked directly at her. But maybe we don't have to anymore. Over the following days, as the human fleet helped repair the mining station and provided escort for refugee ships, word began to spread through the galaxy. Humanity was free, had been free for decades, and had been secretly protecting galactic civilization all along. The response was immediate and predictable. Panic in the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions to discuss the human threat, and demands for immediate requarantine. But there were other voices too. Voices from the mining families whose children had been saved by human medics. Voices from merchant captains who suddenly realized their unexplained escapes from pirate attacks hadn't been luck at all. Voices from colony worlds that had mysteriously avoided natural disasters that should have killed thousands. Standing on the observation deck of Kepler-4 for 2b, watching human ships prepare to depart for their next patrol, Zara made a decision that would change her life forever. Admiral Chen, she called over her communicator. This is Commander Kellith. I'm requesting permission to accompany your fleet. There was a pause. Commander, you understand what you are asking. Your career, your position with the Galactic Authority. I understand, Admiral, but I also understand that 50,000 people are alive today, because humans answered a distress call that no one else could reach in time. I want to be part of that. I want to help. Chen's voice carried warmth when he replied, Welcome to the Terra Defense Force, Commander. We can always use people who understand that the universe is bigger than politics. As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, carrying with them a new ally and the seeds of change that would reshape the galaxy, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of his flagship and smiled. The quarantine was broken, the secret was out, and humanity was no longer alone in its self-appointed mission to protect those who could not protect themselves. In the depths of space, other distress calls were already waiting, and now, when species called for help in their darkest hour, they would find that Deathworlders make the best allies of all. The galaxy would never be the same, and that, Admiral, Chen thought as his ships vanished into hyperspace, was exactly as it should be.